and even probably more so than hearing, probably difficult to talk about. So we'll see how I do. But the gospel comes to us from the 16th chapter of Luke. And this is from the Message Bible, so it may not match exactly what is up there, but that'll give you a true opportunity to listen. Jesus said to his disciples, "There once was a rich man who had a manager. And the rich man got reports that the manager had been taking advantage of his position by running up huge personal expenses. So the owner called the manager in and said, 'What is this I hear about you? You are fired, and I want a complete audit of the books.' The manager, in turn, said to himself, 'What am I going to do? Here I am, lost my job. I'm not strong enough for laboring, and I'll lose all my street cred if I have to go out and beg. I've got a plan. I know. I'll go out into the street and convince the people we'll slash their bills in half, and they'll give only a portion of what they owe to the master. And that way, they will take me into their houses when I'm out in the street.' So he went at it. One after another, he called in the people that were in debt to his master. He said to the first one, 'How much do you owe my master?' 100 jugs of olive oil? Great. Take your bill, sit down quick now, and write 50. And you, what do you owe? 100 sacks of wheat? Good, take your bill and write 80. And then there was this great surprise. The master praised this crooked manager. Why? Because he knew how to look after himself. Streetwise people are smarter in this regard than the law-abiding citizen. They are constantly alert, looking for angles, surviving by their wits. I want you to be smart in the same way, but for what is right. I want you to use every adversity to stimulate you to create survival. To concentrate your attention on the bare essentials so you'll live, really live, and not just complacently get by on good behavior." Then Jesus went on to make these comments. "If you're honest in small things, you'll be honest in big things. If you're a crook in small things, you'll be a crook in big things. If you're not honest in small jobs, who will put you in charge of the store? No worker can serve two bosses. He'll either hate the first and love the second, or adore the first and despise the second. You can't serve both God and money." Does anybody really get this parable? What's it trying to say? Because I'm handing out some cash. I wish it were real, but sorry.
I think we all wish it was real.
We're back here, some hard, cold, fake cash. Anybody, the money is funny, but what might be going on here in this parable? What is the craziest thing you found going on here in this story?
Things happened that he reduced the debt of what's coming back to him.
Yeah, that he wiped out a good portion of the debt. The owner thought it was shrewd, right? I mean, here's a dishonest guy, and the owner's patting him on the back, even after he fired him. And I mean, if it were me, right, I would be taking the guy to court saying, "Pay me what you owe me, dude."
And he wasn't worried about how he was going to feed his family or what he was going to eat. He was worried about his street cred.
He was worried about his street cred. He was worried. He was thinking about at least himself. Maybe he didn't have family. I don't know. But he was looking forward to them taking him in and giving him handouts. I mean, that's not begging. It seems pretty audacious to me too, right? Well, so here's this dishonest guy, and what do we do with that? I mean, honestly, this is one of those stories in the Bible where, as a preacher, I'm like, what? What am I supposed to do with this? And And I started thinking about it, and I still don't really know what the parable means. To be honest with you, if anybody has any good ideas, I'm happy to hear them. But because I'm not entirely sure what Jesus is up to here. Usually in the parables, the rich owner is usually a stand-in for God. I get that. And the parables that came before this one were all about lost people and lost sheep and lost coins. There was also a little famous story about a prodigal son. That one also begins. There was a rich landowner. And so there is this full discussion about wealth and money and things that are lost and rich people. And the rich have done surprising things with their wealth. And in this case here, Jesus commends one of the things that we might least expect. A dishonest guy acting a little bit more dishonest. But what Jesus says is that he was shrewd or smart in the way he handled his crisis. And what he did was, maybe dishonest, but he looked to build relationships. He looked to work with people to get what he needed for his survival. He was ingenious in indebting himself to the debtors and getting his master some money back so he wouldn't be taken to court and put in the stocks or whatever. And so he built and worked on relationships. And I'm not entirely sure that that's the answer here, but that's one of the things that this parable stimulates and makes me think about. The other thing I thought about is talking about money. Who here likes to talk about money? I know Michelle talks about money. And part of it is her role here. But who likes talking about it? Right? I don't. I can be honest and say that until more recently, money scares me. I spend a lot of it, but it scares me to figure out how to use it well. And I have a lot of questions about money, particularly when I start thinking about my relationship to God. And if God is the creator of all things, and God has gifted me with a job, God has gifted me with grace, God has gifted me with family and community and friends, how do I use those things? Or more particularly, how do I use my wealth, all of the things that I've been blessed with? How do I use them in this world? And this story for me brings up the idea that we are called to use all of the things we've been given, including our money, to build and invest in and promote relationships with God and with each other. And so I want us to think for a little bit about money today. This parable made me think that way, so I'm going to push you guys to think about that a little bit. And so what I've done in handing out that money is I want you to get with someone sitting near you. And I want you to talk for a minute or two together about why it might be hard to talk about money in public. And then I also want you to maybe consider another thing. What is a question you might have about money and faith? And write them on the back, perhaps, of the denominational bill you got. And if anyone needs a pen or pencil to do that, here you go. But yeah, I invite you to do that for a minute or so, and then I have another gift for you. It's not real cash, though. I'm sorry.
So our questions are, why are we...
Yeah, what troubles you about talking about money in public in particular? And then the other one is, do you have a question about money and faith that you would like us to look at and maybe talk about?
Oh, I have a question. I can get one from the couple.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll share one.
I'm a little
And I'm AGB, what are my questions?
Questions are, is there something that troubles you about talking about money in public? That's one. And then the second one is there a question that you have about money and faith that you might like to address? Good. Then you can come teach us. It's having surveys, and that is one of the toughest questions that people have.
I'm just prior to the vote, you know, something, just.
Yeah, because you don't own the
But I like my bargains, I'm very proud of them. And it's my bargains that I.
It's easy to judge by handing out
Because
everything
you
about
could
us,
provide
because you live in a
for-
nice house or in a
I
nice
just
suburb,
think
you must be
well
well
off.
off, and that's true, but
Everybody's big.
people make them a
Big house,
based on
they
they
say
say
this much money.
It just one way or the other, you're right.
You'll
They'll
be
look
able
at
to
you and
use
assume.
it.
Right.
I think they.
Question about money and faith.
Go ahead.
I guess that is
Also,
inside.
yeah, they might have the, but they.
And I know every time I
Yeah,
do,
but I love it.
and then I think it's church, and they say, yours was always style, and said that time, said, oh,
Well,
I'm, you know.
this year, I don't really like it.
That's considered
Yes,
actually.
right,
You're actually, you know,
That's your way of cars to feel more.
Where
You know,
we
that's
December
no point.
25th.
See, we're like December, to January of next year.
401k.
We're here.
Seems like that would be
But you're on
That's a
the
matter of don't have money.
Our car could get out, clean out.
And even the hard things,
Small
first
house,
job, led to
Yeah.
But if you're shocked.
all those other jobs that we
$1
have
million
in future, and for those of you who don't have money,
Talk about
Personal
it.
care of your own future.
oh, I missed it. It might just be that whatever circumstance, I don't feel out of control of money. There's nothing that I really do that much. Every year.
I have to say,
You chose
it's
it.
true, and you have to live your life. I don't know that you want to know what it is.
And
Like, you make a step out of
How I spend it, I don't need to tell me that, it's not right.
What is it?
Yeah.
That's my question about money.
People like that.
No, I can't afford to live, my kids are gonna figure it out. So that's that mindset. I can't really think about it, so somebody else to come down.
Don't talk about it.
That's like getting somebody fun of me and my
I
wife.
understand it takes bringing on.
The entire time I worked there for 5 years, I never went to lunch in my life. So we're going out, we're going to train, you know, we're going out for one of the places, let's go. They never went to lunch.
Even like the concept of corporate powers in this society.
It's frowned upon to go in the bench out there.
Promise you have a big bag.
Every time you go down,
Really what
Maybe it's
people.
just.
Second, nothing. I buy a head of lettuce.
People.
I cut it in quarters. That's my lunch, I think it costs $1.29. That's half my lunch for me. Money in the
That's not even an excuse, well, times are tough, so I can't do it.
Well, they have such a little faith. They won't
They
do
have
that.
these tough times.
They're ready to
They
do it,
know
but
it's not
they're
working.
following
You
that.
know, you go
Following
smart.
everything, following everything, following the law.
That's how it's always been here. You know, I see most people are working on, like, obviously about a job that they want. Doing what it has to do. And, so, I don't buy into tough times. I think
I know
it's
we've
hard.
tried over the years.
We're here
different.
because of.
I mean, there's tough times.
Right.
Everyone just assumes.
So fortunate.
Well, fine.
We have
Come help
choices.
clean on it. Talk about it, see if you can help come clean.
It's really
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
Health
And then I'll
goals
be able to
are
work
not
from home.
This is my biggest.
Just come serve at the events, those make money, and there you go, that
This is
covers your
anybody
whole.
who wants to be part of the
And I got that.
You were waiting.
You had the choice of the master.
You know, some of these countries, there's just not work.
But life,
And you're gonna start, if you don't go someplace or do something, you know, and it's not their fault, it's drought, it's, you know,
curiosity.
It's really like me talking is
So we're doing that on the back of our money.
really.
Better than like.
Look at the payroll, hey.
Oh,
That's
look at the same.
actually, I think, it's like,
Right.
your own question.
Tracy.
Yeah.
One is you pretty much has what she.
I do that, take. I think like it can be a good thing, but we take that money.
Somebody say something like what, like clothing wise.
I mean, what's the matter? Make decisions about it. That's the only way to learn.
Assisted living things were all age where budget is going up, and who knows where any of us